and Silverglen. This game itself froze at the end, so we'll go as far as we can, and then I'll explain to you everything that happened and how they determined what the final differential was for the winners. Yeah, those are pretty bad, Chris Kelly. I mean, the when the commons and uncommons are better than the rares, that's just kind of how it works sometimes for you. So, and of course, thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I hope you've been enjoying the OCS playoff coverage and that we've been able to bring you, streaming as many games as we can. Thanks to Jerry and to Dan for streaming the games that they have been able to so far. But with the time zone differences between some of these players, when you've got West Coast United States playing European players, there's like a 9-hour time zone difference there. So it continues again as we have Werfs playing Bastion on a 9-hour time zone difference, and even Greg and Justin is a 5-hour difference. So it kind of creates some interesting availabilities. Now, I do know, fortunately, that Greg Shaw has a regular 9 to 5 job during the week, so unless he's planning on taking any time off, him and Silverglen are probably going to be playing their game at a time that it can actually be streamed, or likely over a weekend, or very late on a weeknight, um, unless Greg happens to have off a day and they play out some games during the day. But Werf's schedule is a little bit more flexible, so I don't know how their games are going to work, but we will do the best that we can to get them streamed live. Because watching replay after you know the results, I mean, you don't go back and watch a sporting event over and over again after you already know who won. Occasionally you do if it's your team and you really want to watch them kick somebody's butt again. But um, so we've got Silverglen. He's going to be playing. It's starting indoor ops. He's playing TTO, and he's taking on Adamtrunzo, who's playing No Idea. I think everybody pretty much expected that Adam would play Court and No Idea. Those are the two decks he had run very successfully during the OCS to qualify. Those are the two decks that he used at North American Continentals to make the top 8. So we've seen No Idea before. He's starting Insurrection to get the docking bays, which he has the unfortunate luck of getting both of them in his opening hand. That's just terrible. The make 10 men feel like 100. And Walkling. And TTO, at least, and again, a different deck, not Ral Ops, thankfully. Surprisingly enough, we saw a lot of Ral Ops, and we saw a few different things. I don't think we've seen a game played with map yet, which is kind of weird, considering that it's a good alternate choice, number 2 dark deck. People seem to just completely shy away from it. It does have some issues with Throne Room and Clash, and if everyone's expecting that kind to be a popular light side choice, it's understandable why maybe that wasn't chosen to be a good dark side deck. So Adam's going to use Rescue in the Clouds, and he's going to take Cricks. And Silverglen is going to be off and running here. They both get grabbers. He's got his Death Star from hand. Arrest to Order Secret Plans. So this is the No Idea counter start. You don't take combat response, and I'm sure combat response isn't even in his deck. He's built it the different way. This is a lot the same way, but that Baroni played it at the at World Championships. Your effect here is Imperial Arrest Order Secret Plans. You pull the Death Star docking bay, and you put Moff Jerjerrod there because his text, as we'll see in a minute, says that while he's on the Death Star, spies can't deploy there. So short of Jar Jar, you're pretty safe. So we'll check him out real quick. Prevents opponent spies from deploying to same Death Star 2 site. So he hangs out here for a little bit, and then get your sectors out, and then if you're worried, you can docking bay transit him over. When you've got some guys there, or you can put him to a capital and then shuttle up from the docking bay to the capital ship. But yeah, good old Jar Jar will still give you a whooping. So he takes the capacitors. He uses his once per game to pull Endor Shield. That negates the icons. And then he goes to look for an Admiral and lets his opponent verify his deck. I guess he forgot what was in there. And now he's just going to draw to try and find his either sector or admirals, whatever he's looking for there. That he didn't put the first sector out, so the first sector must have been active. So it's either had to be the 3 forts he spent for Georgiarod, but you can't take that chance because it throws you off so much if you have a sector buried in your force pile. So he wisely spends the rest of his force on turn 1, drawing the remaining cards. And then he will not search his deck until after he activates, so he doesn't risk shuffling it around again. Adam's going to get both of his docking bays out, and then basically give his opponent a chance to verify his reserve deck, so I guess they're even now. He'll get the beach. And then he's going back and forth here between which spy to deploy, Chirrut or Corrin, Chirrut or Corrin. He's going to go with Chirrut. He'll pick up the tapes, and he'll start doing 2 points of direct damage as long as the spy stays alive. We just saw earlier when we verified Silverglen's deck, he's got 2 EPP Mauls, so at least they were in there. He may have more. He may have 3. Who knows? Probably not. Probably only has 2. So Chirrut feels fairly safe in this scenario. Could drop Cricks as well and start pulling other guys just to start getting the whole chain rolling. I've played this matchup a few times, not this particular version. I've played the standard combat response version, and I will tell you that one side always wins by less than 10. It's kind of the game where you both just keep doing little pings of damage to each other. If light side has relatively unprotected and they get it out quickly, which you usually can because you're wackling for it, that can limit the TTO damage, and that usually means light side wins by under 10. If they don't have it, dark side can usually win by about the same amount, depending on how quickly they can find Imperial Decree to cut this from 2 to 1, and kind of just slow them down a little bit. If you both have trouble getting those cards out, then somebody wins by like 2 or 3 cards. Light side usually gets able to spread out pretty quickly on the ground. Light side's running a few more, it's more of a space-heavy deck for dark side and a ground-heavy deck for light side. So there'll be selective interaction, shall we say. And now he'll use Georgiarod and get the first sector. And he'll reveal his deck to his opponent. Looking to see what's still in there. Did he activate the 3rd sector? Did he activate the TTO? He's got Mara's ship. Okay. He'll pull battle order, make him pay to drain there. And then he's just going to draw some cards. Now the no idea objective does pull ships, so he does have to be careful here not to draw too many cards, leaving himself a couple force at least. Interesting. Maybe he looked through Adam's list and felt very confident that Adam was not playing Gold Leader and Gold 1. But I know some lists have taken it out. They've cut down to just like 2 ships, and they just kind of just load up like Tanev or something like that. But, having access to being able to pull any Rebel starship, except Home 1 or the Maintenance Falcon. Actually, just the Reflections 3 Falcon, sorry. Seems bad because ideally you would just pull any ship, like you can just pull Gold Leader and Gold 1 and put any other guy piloting it because it can't hold a spot, and you can draw Destiny, and now they can't draw Destiny. I might have at least left 1 force, but again, I'm guessing Justin felt confident. He did get an early first turn verify of his opponent's deck, so unless it was in hand. Alright, so there's 2 direct damage. He throws away an EPP Maul and a Phantom Menace. He control set for stunned the drain of 2, so he only lost 1 card instead of 2. Crix is going to deploy. He's going to use his text, and he's going to get the Endor Commando team out. And then Adam's going to draw a couple of cards and play a Rescue in the Clouds. He'll take the Keep Your Eyes Open, which is pretty critical. As we just saw Silverglen throw away an EPP Maul. You don't throw an EPP Maul away unless you have another one in your hand. Or he's completely useless, which in this matchup would not be the case. So, kind of telegraphs, hey, I've got EPP Maul in my hand. Alright, so TTO was in there. I expect we'll see he's going to pay to drain. We're going to see the third marker hit the table. Oh, that's the other thing too, of course. If they are playing the Rebel reinforcement version, getting the drain canceller out, and then if you can cancel a couple of drains with the troopers, that also tends to help light side edge out a close game. Alright, so there's Sector 3, there's TTO, there's We Shall Double Our Efforts, which is going to make the damage 3 points per turn. There's the Invisible Hand. So this is the capital version. What does the Invisible Hand do, you might say? Adds 3 pilots, some droid starfighters, adds a Battle Destiny of Grievous is on the table, but it's a good capital that is immune to attrition less than 5, and I believe there is a puller for it that I'm sure we'll see later. I think at Trade Federation Tactics, I believe, is the card that pulls that, which is a nice Destiny 6 interrupt. This is the capital, so he can shuttle the Moff up, and then I'm sure we'll see the Death Star move to Scarif, and the Invisible Hand slide over there as well. Yep, shuttles the Moff up. Alright, so we're going to drain it 2 at the beach. He top decks the blockade support ship and no escape. And then he top decks lateral damage and the super laser. The super laser could sting a little bit. Maybe not too much, but it could sting a little bit in terms of shooting down things like the Tantive. And here comes said Tantive right on schedule. He's got Rogue One and the Bright Hope we saw as other ship possibilities in there. Bright Hope is a good combo with Tantive. Then you put, a decent character piloting it like Corran Horn. So right now we're looking at, if he wants to pay to drain, he can drain for 2 at Endor, and I think this is only 1 unless your Star Destroyer here. Unless your Star Destroyer here or your Imperial. Yeah, so this is a drain of 1, so probably will not drain here. I assume Silverglen will pay 3. He'll drain for 2 at Endor, and then he'll do his 3 TTO damage because he just has to occupy the system to do that. It's +1 from We Shall Double Our Efforts. Yep, lose 3 to TTO. So Adam does not have relatively unprotected. Otherwise, he would have used Walkling to pull it. He loses Rogue One and 2 Rebel leaderships. And then he's going to get drained for 2, and it's going to cost him a Jyn Erso and a Jedi Levitation. Some pretty high destiny in there. We saw an Emperor and a couple of Trade Federation tactics. So we'll see what... Okay, so Silverglen's going to put Math Vader I'm sorry, Space Vader. So this is the guy that makes a ship immune to less than 5, and he can subtract 2 from a just drawn destiny. And that's during battle. He can subtract 2 from any just drawn destiny. A weapon destiny, a battle destiny, or a bright hope destiny. I expect we'll see Mara and ship slide over, and now because this is piloted by an Imperial and it's alone, it would add a battle destiny. So this would be 2 destiny, immune to less than 5, and Vader can subtract 2, basically making it immune to less than 7. And then the sector here also adds a battle destiny when you fight at the Death Star or the system that it orbits. Add a battle destiny at Death Star 2 and system it orbits. That is a declared action, though, by the way, as well. Sean, what am I missing with the invisible hand inclusion? Yeah, as Chris Kelly just mentioned, it's a capital, so you can deploy to the Death Star. You can shuttle your Moff up from your docking bay, which is how you get around, because this is the setup you need to play against something with no idea in the meta. This is kind of how you have to play around it. You can't just put guys to the bunker, because then they just drop a bunch of spies and kick the crap out of them. So you go with this capital, and like he said, Trade Federation Tactics is a Destiny 6 puller for the ship, kind of like a fly casual for light side. So kind of just makes it an auto include because those cards aren't dead cards floating around in there. Wow, he controls set for stuns the drain again. I'm sure he would love to have like a Tarkin's Orders or something to just cancel it. He throws away a Nemoidian Advisor and a Tarkin. I was really expecting, it's weird to see him play the set for stuns like that. I would have expected him to try and, pick a guy off with the set for stun. Set around, track around a decent destiny, and then, use it strategically in a key situation, like a battle at a system, or to set for stun like cheer it to put the plans back so that he doesn't do damage. Uh-oh, this should be interesting. And we've got a Lando Scoundrel, we've got a Captain Cassian, and we've got a Padme who cancels Vader's text. Ouch. Even in space. So while it's not a whole lot of power, it's still only 8 power. Lightside's getting 2 Destiny now because they've got Lando. They've got the Bright Hope, which is going to draw and subtract from the total. And they've got a pretty decent forfeit amount. Darkside loses Vader's text, so they can't subtract 2. They're only immune to less than 4, which is the blanket immunity, the basic immunity that's on the ship. But they do still get to add the extra destiny, so they're going to draw 3, and as we saw, their destinies are pretty solid. So let's see what we get here. Alright, so we got a blue 11. And a Saw Gerrera, which he's probably going to... Oh, he's going to retrieve a force. Is he going to pay for it? Yep, he's going to pay for it. He's going to retrieve his Jedi Levitation. And then we'll see if he plays his other... Yep. Plays the Jedi Lev, takes it into hand. So now he'll redraw his Battle Destiny. He draws Baze. So he's got a total Battle Destiny of 6. Meanwhile, his opponent, there it is. There's our Trade Federation Tactics. Cancel attempt to use a weapon to target your capital, but more importantly, it's this part. Upload blockade flag support ship or invisible hand. Or it also does something to screw with on target, but yeah, nice Destiny 6 puller. Alright, so Cassian's going to cancel that by putting a guy out of play. So now Darkside has 2 more draws. There's another one. Yeah, I think when we looked at his reserve deck last turn, he had 2, if not 3, Trade Federation Tactics plus an Emperor in there. He draws Sidious. Alright, so Darkside's total is 7, and now Bright Hope will now do its thing. to see what it can reduce it. It's going to reduce it by 3. So Darkseid's total is a 4. Corn Horn goes because he's the guy not doing anything anymore. And Vader's going to go because, well, he's not doing a whole lot either because of Padme. As far as battles go, well, it wasn't really great for Lightside. They put 4 or 5 cards down, and all they really got out of it was they killed Vader. So as far as Darkseid should be concerned, that's actually a pretty reasonable battle. And now Silverglen's got 10 cards in hand to work with, and 20 force. And he can mostly activate right back down to that pile of 6s. He'd be just a couple cards short, or he could just shuffle his deck and take his chances after he does his TTO ping damage. Most importantly right now, it's the top right. Yep. Yes, Cassian just used his text to cancel the Destiny because Insurrection is out, so Cassian actually forfeits for more. So that's what I'm thinking why he lost Corn Horn. So that way, since he's going to be drawing multiple Destinies, and they're probably going to be large Destinies, he kept the guy with the higher forfeit. Because Cassian forfeits for 5, plus he's a Rebel of Ability 2, so he gets a 2 bonus bump from Insurrection, so he forfeits for 7. And since his opponent's total was only 4, he threw away Corn Horn because he's the guy who has actually the lowest forfeit there, even though he gets 2 power from him, whereas Cassian does not add any power. He's just a random pilot guy. Alright, so he's got to lose 3. So he loses Tydu, Cephala, Leia Organa, and Luke Skywalker. Luke is also helpful too to retrieve a force return, kind of stretches the game out a little bit. And now Silverglen does have the Imperial Decree, so now this Stardust damage will be reduced from 2 to 1. Yeah, I think he was hoping to eventually pair Leia, Luke up with Padme to get that extra Destiny to attrition to try and make his opponent lose more stuff each turn. But I see your point, obviously. There's a valid case to be made. If he loses Cassian, he gets to activate 1 extra force, which either means he can draw a card, or he can have a force active, so that way when his opponent gets battled, like this, Lando could retrieve a card, and then, I mean, he wouldn't add it to power. He would just retrieve a card, though. But let's see what Darkseid just dropped. So they dropped Tarkin, who adds Destiny when he's with a leader. He dropped Thrawn, who is a leader. Not really doing a whole lot. And he dropped Kyrkanos, who can cancel a non-immuniscense interrupt, and just is also some extra forfeit fodder. Not quite as good without like code clearance and stuff, but so you've got the ship. You've got ability here. While the ship's alone and piloted by an Imperial, which it is, even though it has a bunch of other guys on it, it's not that they're alone. It's that the ship is alone because there's no other ships there. It's a weird way that this card is worded. So it adds a Destiny, so that gets you to 2. Tarkin adds 1 with a leader to get you to 3, and they add 1 for the capacitors to get you to 4. Well, he knows he's going to get to 2 of those 6s. He's going to draw Sidious, that's 13. And then whatever magic other card happens to be in there. And he can redraw the 1 because Tarkin redraw text will kick in as well. So this should be pretty brutal for Lightside. Darkside's going to draw some massive Destiny here. So he's got a 5, a 4. There's the Sidious that'll get canceled and redrawn, and then he's going to draw the 2 6s. So that's going to be, what, 21 total Battle Destiny? Which, coincidentally enough, is exactly what Lando, Padme, and Cassian forfeit for. Now, granted, Bright Hope will get to reduce that a little bit by 1 or 2, but, you know. Alright, so there's another Luke. This is embarrassing. 3, doesn't even crack the immunity to make him even have to lose Kyrkanos. This is why I don't like the No Idea deck. There's too many characters in it. Still down by 20. Let's see what they can draw and subtract here. Maybe get... Alright, that's a good 6. That's a well-timed 6. If you're ever going to draw a 6, that's a heck of a time for it. So he reduces the total by 6. So he's got 15 attrition and 14 battle damage. He's still losing everybody aboard. Cassian will let him activate 1 now. And Darkseid loses nothing. And Darkseid is going to... He shuttles down Moff Jerjerrod all by himself. Perhaps he's thinking he can just pitch Decree. Yep, there's Sabine. For those of you unfamiliar with what Sabine does. Something with blasters. Don't worry about that part. The important part is right here. While with an Imperial or 2 Rebels, whenever you win a battle, opponent loses 2 force. Her ratios are also great. She's 3-8, essentially, with Insurrection out. So Saw Gerrera is going to go aboard the Tanev as a passenger. You know that the ships are just going to end up moving away here. There's Sabine. Battle. Peeks at the top card of his own reserve deck and decides to leave it there. Now his opponent did move, so that's not the 6. Otherwise, maybe you make your opponent move his own card or something. He will get to do the draw trooper retrieve function. That's the other thing that this card does, in case you're wondering what that is. If you just drew a rebel spy for Destiny, you may retrieve a force. And the objective makes your Bays, Chirrut, and rebel troopers are spies. So these non-unique trooper guys are spies. Alright, so he gets Padme back. He's got a Destiny of 3. So Sabine's going to make him lose 2. That'll get reduced to 1. So he loses 1, which is Grievous. Then he loses the Moff. And then he plays the Gik, which gets grabbed. So instead of losing a drain of 2, he loses 2 force because of Sabine, which gets reduced to 1. So he loses 2 cards total. He loses Grievous and the Gik, which is the same as if he had gotten drained, and his Moff gets killed. I guess you could say he made his opponent put an extra card on the table to do it, and if he doesn't have Sabine, well, then maybe it saves him a force. But the fact that you did not kill anything of your opponents seems unusual. Also, very interesting that I was apparently wrong at the beginning. When he threw away the EPP Maul, I guess he just considered that a character he wasn't planning on using this game, which I don't know why. Yes, Sabine does get pulled by Mandalorian Mishap, I believe, right? The virtual version. She's a cool character. So there's the 3 damage TTO. He does move away. Evac control, escape pod, menace fades. 6, 5, 6, and 1 are the 4 cards left in his reserve deck. Silverglen's going to force push. What can he find? Not Zuckuss, that was in his reserve deck. Zuckuss would be very handy. He's going to masterful move to take the image of the Dark Lord out of his deck, which he can then reduce the drain by 1 here. Especially because Saw Gerrer's already in play. So Saw says opponent may not reduce your force drains here. So Image of the Dark Lord does not work where Saw is. Queso, renewing your subscription, month number 11. Thank you very much. Someday we'll get you to month 37 with your subscriptions. And then this party moves on over. Probably not going to see too many more battles the rest of this game. Now that Darkseid has a pile of pretty good destinies kind of all stacked together, it's going to be unlikely that Lightside's going to want to engage them, and they're just going to keep shuffling their ships back and forth until Darkseid finds if they have another ship available to drop on them. In the meantime, Lightside's going to drain for 1. They're going to do 1 ping damage. Darkside's going to do 3 TTO damage, and possibly, where they can, drain for 1 or 2 by paying for it, which they may not be able to afford to do for a whole lot longer themselves. And this is going to be one of those real close kind of drain race games where somebody's going to squeak out a win in the single digits. He deployed this commander guy who can upload throw me another charge or a trooper. Makes their troopers, and he can release imprisoned captives. Okay, not a bad guy. Forfeits for 6. If he gets you a trooper out of your deck and you have a number of options to choose from in this no idea platform, usually you want him to show up a little sooner though. Yes, there is a foil map objective for 12 months. So next month when you renew your subscription, it'll be Merry Christmas queso sauce. And you will get a foil copy of the map objective. And then potentially design will then tweak that card, and then you'll have a foil version of a objective that just got changed. Yeah, no, they're already printed. Sorry. All right, so he shuttles up Sabine. He shuttled up Crix. So Sabine's a pilot. So that gives him 6 ability piloting. Crix moves down. I'm sorry, Crix also comes up. Saw moves down, so Saw will now negate the decree, making this a drain of 2 once again. At some point, he'll put Walkling out of play and retrieve a force. Hera's a pretty good pickup. She'll help get an extra destiny in space. There goes Luke. There goes Odin. Loses 2 cards from his force pile. And then loses the Jedi Lev. There goes the projection that he's been holding on to for a very long time. And the perimeter scan. He hasn't played any shields. Ordinarily, I always say before you lose something like perimeter scan, play it. In this case, though, your opponent also hasn't used his grabber, so there's a good chance he might just grab it and take a card away from you. Probably not. He's probably waiting for something better, like Rescue or something that he can actually get some use out of. But so he drops Dr. E, so now he's got some extra power and forfeit. We'll see if he flips his ships. Looks like that's what he's going to do. Invisible Hand moves back to Endor. Mara and party move over to the system. And then he'll play the point man again and go peek and see what he wants out of the 5 cards in his force pile. And there's the rescue, which now does get grabbed. Right on cue. He takes the rebel leadership. This could come in handy if he drops. If he can afford to drop Hera, he can afford to drop. He can drop Hera and Radis aboard the Bright Hope. Woohoo! Yay! Bits. We love bits. He could battle and then leadership. The only problem is Kyrkanos is there and he's going to cancel it. So this seems like a good play, but it's actually not going to work out because of this guy. Once per game can cancel a non-immune to sense interrupt and rebel leadership. At least the virtual version of rebel leadership is not immune to sense. The regular version isn't immune either, but that one does some interesting other stuff. And that is a hidden little Easter egg dig at somebody, if anybody was paying attention to that. You watched 3 ads for them bits. Thank you very much for that. Watching ads to get bits for free is always a good way to do it, and then donating them to us is always appreciated as well. All right, so it's a drain for 2 at the beach. It's Sidious and Force Push from the used pile, and then there goes the EPP Maul. Yep, looks like he is not going to be battling here. He puts Hera aboard as a pilot, and he adds Radis as well. And he flips. Okay, so he put Radis to the ground to flip. Interesting. What does flipping get him? Spies, some stuff on the ground. They can't cancel your drains where Stardust is. So Tarkin's orders would not work to cancel that drain. He can make a regular move with the spy. Maybe to get an extra drain by moving over. Probably not. Yeah, I don't know. Unless he's afraid of the gravity shadow and he plans on moving the ships, so he wanted to flip before he moves away. That would be the only thing that makes sense to me at this point as to why he would make this move, is if he's afraid of the gravity shadow, which makes sense because he did see Silverglen draw it for Battle Destiny earlier. So, oh, Chirrut's going to recycle. Okay, so he hasn't used his once per game peak yet. So he knew he had a 4 on top, and then he's going to look at and then shuffle his whole deck around and move the 4 off the top. And he's just going to draw a few cards. Okay. Well, there's Rey. She'd been very helpful quite a while ago. So, I'm going to pause it for a second because I'm confused by this whole sequence of events. He takes the leadership, which doesn't work out so well because of Kyrkanos. He deploys Radis so he can flip, so he can be possibly protected but doesn't move away to block the bigger drain. He uses Chirrut's once per game to recirculate and then checks his destinies and doesn't battle. It seems like he just used a whole bunch of actions that all sort of contradicted each other and eventually just didn't get him anywhere. Throw away Baze, throw away the speeder, and he still doesn't seem to have found the entrenchment to cancel any drains. Not that. Oof, the system's still in there. But otherwise, the Destiny looked pretty good. And we did see Overwhelmed as well. I don't know he's going to quite be doubling him up in power. I guess he could. If he moved this over, he'd be at 19 to 9. He'd be more than double. And he could Overwhelmed and send all this stuff out of here. But instead, he's just going to draw some really awesome Destiny. And he's going to play Imperial Command with Thrawn to limit his opponent to 1. And if he does draw the 0, well, Tarkin can just redraw it. Yeah, I'm sure he took the leadership thinking it was going to be a big battle and just forgetting that Kyrkanos was there, and then he probably realized, hey, Kyrkanos is there. Never mind, this isn't going to work. We all have those moments where we all remember why we didn't do something after we start to do something else. All right, so there's the 0. He'll redraw that, and he's going to end up around 20 with his total Destiny again. Nope, 21. Blackjack. Now, light side's limited to 1, which is a 4. That'll actually make him have to lose Kyrkanos. Which if Radis Radis is on the ground. If Radis shuttles up next turn, hey, that might actually work out all right. He draws a 3. He's going to use Hera to cancel and redraw it. And draws a 2 instead. Yeah. Knowing the Destiny that's in this kind of deck, I'd be happy that I drew a 3 and would have kept it. Not that it necessarily makes a whole heap of difference. 19 attrition. He loses Sabine. He loses Crix. And he loses the Captain dude and the Corporal dude and gets to keep Hera. And Ozzel's going to shuttle down now with the good doctor, knowing that his opponent has 3 cards in hand and only 8 cards left to work with. It's highly unlikely that he's got any ship that he can deploy with a guy and battle and cause any damage to the invincible hand here. So instead he's going to go ground so he can try to occupy a battleground site, A, to pick up his damage by 1, and B, so he doesn't have to pay to drain the following turn as well. He is going to use the flip side of the text to move a guy inside. Please hold. Excuse me. I knew I was right about the sneeze, and that was going to... Nobody wants to hear that. Alright, so he moves Chariot over. He gets a drain of 1. And he gets a drain of 2 at the beach, and then he'll get 1 ping damage. So he does 4 damage this turn. That's pretty good. Dark Time goes. Point Man goes. Zuckuss goes. The extra grabber goes. And Hera. No Gravity Shadow. Hera and the Bright Hope. Go to the Death Star And then Hera shuttles down to the docking bay. So kind of giving his opponent a little taste of his own medicine there. He's going to do the 1 force retrieval for the Walkling. And then draw a card or two. Silverglen will pull Firepower. Trunzo will pull Aim High. Not that I think he deployed anything that turn, but still. So we got 3 damage from TTO. Jedi Lev, Leadership, and probably Commander Willard there. Wow, no, he tosses Ray. That was a bit unexpected. I guess she cost a little more, so he's going to lose most of what he's got left anyway, I guess. There goes Sabine. There goes It Could Be Worse. There goes a Drain at Docking Bay. And there goes the Hujix. There goes to Keep Your Eyes Open. Okay, so here's where the game broke. So what had happened was Silverglen attempted to Docking Bay transit his characters over to the Death Star Docking Bay. Or at least one of them. I don't know if he was taking both or just taking Dr. E and leaving Ozzel behind. That would make the most sense. Just take Dr. E, because then Hera doesn't draw, because there's no Imperial there. So I think that's what he was planning on doing, was just taking Dr. E and moving him over, and the game froze. So they worked out the following sequence of actions. I'm assuming this is what would have happened. So what Docking Bay transit to or from here requires 8 force. So he wasn't moving Hera away. Hera could shuttle back up, though. So Silverglen's got 11 cards left total. He's going to get pinged for 1 with Decree for the Stardust. He's going to get drained for 1, and he's going to get drained for 2. So he's going to lose 4 cards, taking him down to 7. On his turn, what Adam would have to do is basically just shuffle people around to block everywhere. So Dr. E moves over. Hera moves back up. That costs 1. He could then move the Tantive to Endor to block that drain. And then that leaves him with, he's got 4 plus 1 in hand. He gets, and I guess he moves, actually he has to do it the other way. Tantive has to go here to block this. Bright Hope has to move to block this, I guess. Yeah. He can shuttle Radis up if he needs to. I think he has enough force to do that. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I don't know. They worked it out that Adam would have at least 1 card left and would get and probably survive at least 1 system, so he'd get 1 more sequence of drains in. You know what? Maybe that was it. Maybe the ship was moving over here. Maybe they worked that out. Yeah, maybe Visible Hand moves. Yeah, these things have to flip, I think. Invisible Hand has to go here. Mara has to chase. So that cuts him down. So he only gets drained for 1, I think, here. And then the 3 ping from TTO when he runs away from the Death Star. That leaves him with 1 card left and Battle Plan still active or occupied. So then he gets the drain for 4 more, taking Silverglen down to 3 before the TTO kills him off the following turn. That makes the most sense. Thanks, Berms, for refreshing my memory as to what would have made the most sense for them to do there. So yeah, obviously he's got to move over here because otherwise this is a big drain. He doesn't want to eat at the Death Star. I think well, at least while TTO's out, yeah, have to drain it too that he can avoid by simply just moves this ship over, moves the Invisible Hand over here, brings Ozzel up, moves Doctor E over. Yeah, that's what those are all the moves I'm sure he would have done. Doctor E goes over, Ozzel comes up, he flips the ships. This one ends up at the Death Star. Yeah, those are blocked. He gets drained for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he moves to block with the ships because there's nothing at Endor. And then, yeah, he gets hit for, yeah, the last bit. All right, so Silverglen ends up winning this game by 3, which makes sense when we actually stop and think about it for a second and do play it all out. He then advanced into the second round where he played Joe Olsen and was victorious in that match as well, putting him into the semifinals.